Hello, courageous coders. Professor Solo here. Today, we're not just writing code. We're taking command and version controlling it with Git. I'll start inside Notebook LM, then jump to a quick, real-world demo. All live, no edits. Let's get going.
Hello everyone, Professor Solo here. You know, if you've ever found yourself naming a file final and then final, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about Git. It's this essential tool for keeping track of, well, not just your code, but really your entire creative process. So let's fire up the time machine and get into it.
Oh, you've seen this, right? We've all been there. Project final, project final, project for real this time, I swear.zip. It's kind of funny, but it's also a system born from pure desperation, a slow slide into total chaos that, honestly, every creator knows way too well. And this is exactly why Git was invented, to save us from ourselves.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? Bringing a little bit of order to that beautiful chaos of creation. Think of version control as your safety net. It tracks every single change so you can actually focus on the building part, not just constantly hitting save as and worrying. So how do we get to this magical place of creative calm? Well, the answer is Git. And you know, the best way to think about Git is as your project's very own personal time machine. It literally gives you the power to go back and visit any point in your project's past.
When you strip it all down, that's really all Git is. It's a logbook for your ideas as they evolve. And it's not just for programmers. It's for anyone who makes things that change over time. Writers, designers, you name it. It's the story of your entire creative journey. And this really gets to the heart of the story that Git helps you tell. Every single time you save your work, which in Git speak we call a commit, it's like taking a perfect snapshot of your project at that exact moment. And every branch, well, that's a safe space to ask, what if I tried this, without messing up all the work you've already done?
Okay, theory is great, but let's actually get our hands dirty. We're about to make our very first snapshot, our first commit. And trust me, it's so much easier than you think it is.
Now, to understand how this all works, let's use a really simple analogy. Just imagine your entire project lives inside a house, and this house has 3 specific rooms. If you can picture this, everything else is going to click into place.
All right, so here's how our 3-room house works. The first room is the working directory. Just think of this as your messy desk, where you're actually doing the work, making changes. Once you make a change you like, you use the git add command to move it into the second room, the staging area. This is like putting it in a neat little box ready to be archived. And finally, the git commit command seals that box up and moves it to the repository, the permanent, unchangeable archive room.
So this gives us a brand new mantra. It's simple. Initialize your project, stage the changes you want to keep, and then take a snapshot to save them into history forever. That's it. That is the core loop of working with Git.
Okay, so now that we know how to safely save our progress, it's time to unlock.
Hang on a second before we get into branching. Let's just take a quick look at how we do a commit, what that staging looks like, and everything else. Hang on. All right, so what we're going to do here now, let's go back in here. I have a quick demo set up here. We've got some SVGs that we're going to work in. And what we're going to do is start bringing these in to our project one by one and show how we can change shapes and change colors on 2 different branches and have them interact with each other as though we have multiple developers working on the same project. My initial state here, I've got my initialized Git repo. I've got index.html. This U indicates that it's untracked. So the first thing I got to do is add that in. Before even doing that, I'm going to check the status. Git status. Oops, I'm not in a Git repository at all. Let's check what folder I'm in. I'm in... Okay, CD into lessons. Day 2 and Git branching, and finally into my actual repo. Now, let's clear that and git status again. There we go. I'm on branch main. I have an untracked file in there. I'm going to bring this over so you can see better what I'm doing. There we go. I have an untracked file. It's my index.html. So what I want to do first is add that into the staging area. This isn't creating a commit. It's not adding it to the history yet. It's just saying, okay, this is ready to be committed. I'm going to do that with git add and the name of my file, index.html. Boom. As soon as I do that, I have an A here. Next, I'm going to make that first commit. I've already got my README and my license in place. So let's just do a git commit. We need to add a message for each one, and we're going to put a descriptive comment along with each, starting with that -m flag. And I'll just say add index.html starter file. And we're ready to roll again. Let's jump back to Notebook LM, and then we'll take it from there.
Git's real superpower, branching. This is where we get to explore all those wild new ideas without any fear.
I mean, this is the question that keeps creators up at night, right? You've got a stable, working version of your thing, but you want to try something new, something ambitious. So how do you do it without risking it all? The answer? You make a new branch.
Think of it like this. Your main branch is the official timeline of your project. It's the real story. When you want to try a new feature, you create a parallel universe, a new branch. In that separate timeline, you can go nuts, experiment, break things, fix them, and the whole time your main timeline is completely untouched and safe. Then, when you're ready, you can merge that successful experiment back in.
Let's put it another way. The main branch is what you show to the world. It's clean, it's tested, it just works. A feature branch, on the other hand, is your messy workshop. It's your private lab where you can tinker and play around with no pressure.
Okay, so up until now, our little time machine has only existed on our own computer. But what about back?
Hang on a second. Let's go through some branching. Here we are back in our code view, and what I'm going to start doing is bringing in some branches. Creating some branches, rather. And let's clear our terminal. And what I'm going to do, in each of these demo files, demo assets, I've got an SVG. And we're going to play around with some shapes here. As soon as I save that into place, we've got a circle, a nice purple circle, indigo circle. And I've got that there. You'll see my index.html is modified again. So let's add that in. Oh, wait a second. I don't want to add that yet. I have an untracked file. I want to create a new branch. Actually, I'm going to add this on the main branch. Git add dot. That will add all files that have been modified from that folder down. And one more commit here. And this time, I'm going to just add in this commit message indicating that I've added in my baseline circle. And now I want to start branching things out so that I can play around with some different shapes. Meanwhile, another developer could be playing around with different colors. And we're going to see that in action. The way we switch to a new branch, one way to do it is git branch. And this time I want to name my feature, or I want to name my branch based on what I'm doing on this branch so that it's easy for future developers to understand what has happened here. Git branch feature/shape. Now I've created the branch, but if I check git status, I'm still on branch main. So I need to switch to feature shape. And let's clear this and take our next step. We're now on our shape branch. So rather than a circle, we're going to go with a rounded square shape. Let's start playing. I'm going to bring that into my index.html, replace the prior SVG. There we go. Save it. Prettier will do its work. And now I've got a square. That's fantastic. Let's add and commit it. And once again, I want a descriptive commit message, not overly verbose, but enough that it explains what's going on. Yes, I've saved these off screen so that you don't have to watch and listen to me typing as I go. I've now committed that. Check git status. I'm on my feature shape branch. Now, I can, because this is a parallel branch, switch back to main. And as you see, main still has my circle information. So the next step, what I want to do is, let's say I'm happy with this and I want to bring it into that main line of our code. What I'm going to do is merge that. Git merge will you have to be on the branch that you want to merge into, and you specify which branch you're merging from. So I'm going to say feature shape, which is my only other branch there. And now I want to add in a message with that too. We're going to add lots of messages as we go. What I'm doing here is I'm merging my shape branch, rounded square, into main. There we go. Clear that out. And as you can see, as soon as I merged it in, it updated again. I'm still on the main branch. Okay. Next up. Let's say another developer has been tasked with changing the color. Indigo's great, but we can have some more fun with it. So I'm going to create yet another branch. This one, again, based off the main. And this time I'm going to use a shorter command, which is git switch -c, which stands for create. And we're going to create our feature chroma branch. And in that one command, instead of creating a branch and then switching, it created it and switched for me. Now, what I want to do is, let's say I go magenta. Wait a second, that's too far ahead. Okay. Let's make some more shape changes. I'm going to switch back to my shape branch. Git switch without the C will just switch branches. Feature, and then shape. Take a look at index.html. Here we are. This is going to update. Let's make it, instead of a rounded square, we're going with a triangle this time. Copy that. Paste it in. There we go. Now we have our triangle, and that's pretty awesome. I want to make another commit here. I like my triangle, and it's a snapshot of this state. That means that eventually I can roll through that history and see what happened at each stage. You can almost think of it like saving, but with that time machine. So, git add dot first. Or in this case, I could add index.html. It's up to you. If you've changed a bunch of files, use git add dot, but be careful that you are only committing changes that you want to, or you can specify the file itself. And so what we're going to do next, I've got my triangle branch, and I'm just going to add it in. I've added it. Now I'm going to add in a commit message. We've gone triangle. Sounds pretty good. Wait a second though. I want to make that. I started that Chroma branch. Let's see if I switch over there where we are. Uh-oh, I'm back to the square. Now, I could merge in from, let's see what we've got on main. Oh, it's also the square. That's okay. We haven't merged from our shape branch into main yet. But I want to show how we can actually move things around quite easily. So I'm on my Chroma branch. Let's say we're going to go magenta now. This may change the shape as well, but let's take a look. It did. It switched it to a star. I'm going to undo that. I don't want to get too ahead of things here. Of course, most developers wouldn't be acting as 3 developers at once. So let's go back to our shape branch. And add in yet another shape shift. We're going star. There we've got our indigo star. Add. Change to star. And okay, now we're doing pretty well. I want to switch over to my Chrome. Actually, I'm going to merge this into main. Or I could merge it directly into my Chroma branch. So let's switch to Chroma, git merge feature shape. Boom. Now it's caught up with the star. So I've caught up with what my other developer has done. Often you would commit and merge into main, and then the other developer would pull from there. Or rather, merge from there, but I'm taking some shortcuts today. We'll walk through this slower later. Now let's go and start editing our color. Okay, now we're moving along. We've gone magenta. I'm going to clear this, bring it up, check, make sure we're on the right branch. We are on Chroma. Let's add it. Then let's add in let's commit it. And yeah, that's pretty good, but I'm not too sure. Let's go to a different. Let's merge this into main. Git merge. Ooh, it's all the way back at the square. That's all right. Watch what happens here. Boom. it's brought in that entire commit history that we had developed on the shape branch. We merged into the chroma branch. Now we've merged it into main, and everything is hunky-dory. I should add a commit there as well, but I want to just keep on moving. Let's go cyan. I could theoretically work right here on main even. I don't want to do that in order to keep my code organized and have that clear history for later on. So, oops. Let's switch to feature chroma. Go into our index.html. Now we have a cyan star. And I'm going to add in my commit message. Excellent. And that's pretty cool, but we can go even further. Let's try out a gradient version. One last time. Here we go. Yes, that's the one. Everybody's happy with this. Git add dot git commit. One thing about these commit messages, later on, you will find that if you're using AI or doing these on using a GUI, many times, or even some of the plugins, extensions for VS Code, they will offer you automatic commit messages. It has used to be we had to write these all by hand, and it is time consuming to be consistent and be descriptive without going overboard. Okay, I've committed that onto main, or into the chroma. Let's bring it back into main. Switch to main. Merge in feature chroma with our message this time. I forgot it last time. There we go, we're on main. We have our star now with the gradient. And now one last thing I want to do before we move along is actually show you a merge conflict because, well, you know, it's fun. Let's go to our shape branch. And our friend on the shape branch has decided that we're going to make some modifications here to the stroke on that star. Thicken it up a little bit. And we've gone back to purple. That's okay. Let's add it. That's because I didn't bring in the changes from main before doing this. Probably should have stopped at that. But we're doing this live, no edit. Now let's switch over to feature chroma. And we're going to make a change on this as well. We're on Chroma. We're back to our gradient there with the thinner stroke. Do I have defs twice? Nope. But I've lost my gradient. I'm going to go with this chroma anyway. And let's add that in. There we go. That's committed. Now we're going to start merging things in, and this is where we're going to run into some trouble. Let's switch to main. Clear our console to bring things in, and let's bring in from one of those branches and then the other branch. Git merge feature shape. And okay, there we go. We've got our gradient back. We've got the thicker stroke. And now we're going to bring in feature chroma. And here's where we're going to run into a conflict. Let's just see what happens here. Ready? Oh no! We have a conflict. And what Git will do as soon as it detects a conflict is put in these conflict markers. And we can choose which one we want to keep. Depending on what tools you're working with, the merge editor may be helpful. I'm just going to do it manually. I know that I want the thinner stroke, but I'm going to keep the I want to go back to the gradient, but keep the stroke. So that was the current change. This is the incoming change. Accept incoming change. Save that. We've lost our fill. That's okay. There wasn't a conflict on that line. But I'm going to, having fixed the conflict, I need to add and commit, and we'll just say that we've resolved our stroke width conflict. Now, I can also make any other changes I want in there. I'm going to change that to 2, and we now have our full history. I could bring in the gradient back again. Don't quite want to do that yet. Let me show you one more thing before we jump back into the Notebook LM video. And that's, I'm going to show you git log. And it's going to show us all of what happened there, that full history. I'm going to have it do in one line per commit. Give us a graph, decorate all the way down. And here we've got our little git graph. And you can see how important those commit messages become when we start traversing back through history. And you can see where things are branching and branching back in, and all the way back to my initial commit. And we're done. Let's go back to the video, watch the rest of that, and then we'll do some more demo work afterwards.
Or what if we want to work with other people? Well, that's where we connect Git to a service like GitHub.
Now, this is a super important distinction to make. Git is the program, the software, the engine of the time machine that lives on your computer.
GitHub is the garage up in the cloud where you park that time machine. They are two totally separate things, but they are designed to work together perfectly.
So what's the big deal? Why bother using GitHub? Well, it gives you 3 massive benefits. 1, it's an off-site backup. If your laptop decides to go for a swim, your project's history is totally safe. 2, you can get to your work from any computer. And 3, and this is a big one, it's how you work with other people on the same project.
And the command that makes all this magic happen? It's git push. After you've made your snapshots locally, you just push them up to GitHub. That's what syncs your local time machine with the one that's safely stored in the cloud. It's pretty much that simple.
And just like that, you've gone from a folder full of final for real files to having this robust, organized, and backed up history of your entire creative process. That right there is the journey from chaos to confidence.
Now, to make your life even easier, I want to leave you with 2 golden rules. Seriously, remember these. First, always pull before you push. This just syncs your work with any changes your team might have made and stops a lot of errors. And second, always review what you've staged before you commit it. Think of it as your last little checkpoint before you make history.
So, if you remember just one thing from all this, let it be this. Git isn't some scary, complicated tool just for elite coders. It's not. It's your project's memory, it's your safety net, it's your time machine.
You've got the keys now. The keys to travel through time in your own projects, to experiment without fear, and to build things with anyone, anywhere in the world. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?
All right, that's Git in a nutshell. We've covered a little bit of how branching ideas work, and we've taken a demo at branching the code, and we've let Notebook LM tell us about pushing and pulling and syncing that up so that you could be doing all of that branching and merging and keeping in sync with each other remotely from different systems, different places, different countries. So, that's how we've gone through exploring, merging, and leveling up what we can create. P.S. Always commit to your creativity, and I'll see you again next time.